November 14th, 2023. The headlines were a frantic chorus of disbelief. The Celestial Eye. Lena Petrov's $300 million masterpiece, a blinding diamond-encrusted nexus of light and structure, was gone. It hadn't been dismantled, broken, or smashed. It had simply vanished. From the Metropolitan Museum of Art's most secure vault, the theft defied physics, no alarms triggered, no glass shattered, no guard saw a thing. The world looked for a team of professionals, but the evidence pointed to a digital ghost. But this wasn't the work of a seasoned thief or an international crime syndicate. This ghost had a name, or rather, an alias, Anya. She wasn't a master criminal, she was a master code architect. Operating deep within the dark web's digital underbelly, Anya specialized in finding the cracks in corporate armor, revealing systemic flaws for justice, not profit. Her peers described her as a digital surgeon, precise, untraceable, and utterly ruthless when motivated. Her involvement in the Celestial Eye heist elevated her from a cyber activist to the most wanted woman in art history. Understanding the crime requires understanding the fortress. The Met's security system was the result of a wanty $40 million upgrade built on a philosophy of redundancy and isolation. The network was air-gapped, meaning it had zero external internet connectivity. The vault housing the Celestial Eye was a literal cage of titanium, protected by seismic sensors. Deep beneath the floor, thermal imaging cameras, and a 3-layer laser grid that mapped every cubic inch of the chamber. Security experts publicly boasted, "Nothing leaves this vault without permission." The world assumed greed. The truth was far deeper, a debt of stolen genius. Decades earlier, Lena Petrov had been a young artist struggling for recognition. Anya's mother, an abstract sculptor, had developed the initial concept for the Celestial Eye, a unique mathematical pattern of light refraction. Petrov, then a mentor, stole the concept, repackaged it, and soared to fame, leaving Anya's mother ruined. The sculpture wasn't a prize, it was a symbol of her mother's betrayal. This was a silent act of digital restitution for a crime committed in the analog world. Anya knew she couldn't breach the air-gap network directly. She used the cyber kill chain methodology, starting not with the wall, but with the bricks around it. Her targets were the museum's peripheral vendors, the HVAC monitoring company in New Jersey, the smart lighting control firm in Boston, and the external maintenance company that managed the museum's backup generators. She didn't hack them to steal money. She hacked them to steal metadata, configuration files, update schedules, and employee access credentials. The breakthrough came via a forgotten piece of hardware, a single older Siemens controller governing the sub-level humidity. It was slated for retirement but still running, connected to the internal network via an overlooked diagnostic port. Crucially, the external contractor had never changed its factory default password, a string of 8 simple digits. This tiny, unencrypted pinhole was the vulnerability Anya needed. Through this exposed port, Anya uploaded her custom payload, codenamed Project Ghost. This wasn't ransomware. It was an extremely low-signature rootkit designed to operate at the kernel level of the museum's operating system. Its primary mission: passive listening. For 2 months, Project Ghost transmitted compressed data packets only during the low-traffic window between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., logging every command, every sensor reading, and every movement within the facility. The data revealed the rhythm of the Met. The security team relied on predictable, automated patrols. The guards' schedules were rigid. The automated cleaning drones ran at 1:30 a.m. every Tuesday. And most importantly, the system-wide security update always initiated a 120-second sequence where the primary motion detection algorithms rebooted, causing a slight but exploitable delay in sensor response time. The museum announced a major system-wide update for the night of Rei, November 13th to 14th. This wasn't just a distraction, it was a forced vulnerability. The update required a temporary shutdown of the central authentication server, leaving the individual system controllers, like the vault door's magnetic lock, to operate on local temporary code. Anya had her date. She had a 90-minute window to execute the physical breach. At 1:37 a.m., on November 14th, the update began. Anya executed her attack. Project Ghost went live, not to crash the system, but to introduce subtle, confusing anomalies. It injected false noise into the thermal feed, showing phantom heat signatures in unrelated utility rooms. It slightly delayed the sensor reports from the East Wing by 7 seconds, forcing guards to check them manually, pulling attention away from the vault sector. While the digital chaos unfolded, Anya made her physical move. Dressed in an authentic, high-visibility maintenance uniform stolen from a previous contractor, she approached the perimeter. She bypassed the exterior pressure plates using a thin carbon fiber mat to evenly distribute her weight, and located the decommissioned sewage access panel. Her stolen blueprints showed the internal camera covering this point was manually recalibrated every Tuesday morning at 1:45 a.m., creating a 14-second blind spot she was in and moving through the subterranean tunnels. Anya's second phase of infiltration was the ventilation system. It was loud, dusty, and claustrophobic, but perfectly unmonitored. She moved based on the system's C/D files, timing her movements to the rhythmic whir of the intake fans, which masked any minor metallic noise she made. She carried only two things: a signal blocking bag for the sculpture and a modified tablet displaying a real-time 3D rendering of the museum's interior. Her goal was the access port directly above the vault chamber. This port was designed for emergency fire suppression access, requiring a specialized quarter-turn wrench. Only authorized personnel possessed a tool she had 3D printed weeks ago. Carefully, she removed the heavy mesh cover, exposing the chamber 40 feet below. From this vantage point, she could clearly see the celestial eye. The chamber's defense was the triple-layer infrared laser grid. Touching a single beam meant instant full lockdown. Anya had a bespoke solution: 3 miniature self-balancing quadcopters. These drones had been pre-programmed with the exact sequence of the security reboot delay. For the duration of the 120-second reboot cycle, the drones would hover, emitting a specific wavelength of high-intensity infrared light that temporarily created a sensor blind spot, large enough for her to safely drop down unnoticed. Now inside the vault chamber, Anya moved to the glass display case. The case was protected by a high-frequency electromagnetic induction lock. She used her tablet, now running a specialized EM field dampener, programmed to inject a sequence of modulated radio waves into the lock circuit board. The code exploited the system's temporary reliance on its local, unverified authentication token, causing the lock to perceive the radio waves as a valid unlock command. With a near-silent hiss, the thick, reinforced glass shell slid open. The piece was breathtaking, the size of a human head. The celestial eye pulsed under the exhibit lighting. Anya didn't rush. She lifted the sculpture gently from the pedestal, careful not to disturb the micro-pressure sensor it rested on. This was the moment of closure, the physical symbol of her mother's life finally being reclaimed. She placed it into the signal blocking bag, which shielded the object from any hidden GPS trackers or radio frequency identification chips. The ascent was faster, driven by adrenaline. Back in the vents, Anya performed her zero-trace protocol. She activated a secondary module in Project Ghost that systematically corrupted and deleted the last 72 hours of its own network traffic logs, leaving a perfectly clean digital slate. She replaced the fire suppression port cover and secured the exterior hatch. Everything looked untouched. Anya slipped back into the city crowds just as the first glimmer of dawn broke. She hailed an anonymous ride, shedding the technician uniform. By the time the museum staff performed their 6 a.m. routine check, she was miles away. The vault was empty, the glass case was open, and the only evidence left was a snapshot digital echo of a code that no one could decipher. The Met was forced to admit the $300 million masterpiece was gone, but not how, and certainly not why. The FBI and Interpol launched the largest art theft investigation in history. They found the anomalous sensor readings, the false thermal spikes, and the delayed camera footage. But they found zero evidence of human entry or forced hardware breach. The digital evidence was a carefully constructed series of dead ends. The conclusion, an unprecedented digital theft by a highly sophisticated unseen entity. Days later, a low-level forensics tech discovered a single, tiny data packet hidden in a redundant log file, a non-malicious digital signature. Cybersecurity analysts instantly recognized the elegant, compressed code structure. The suspect was confirmed. Anya. She hadn't stolen the artwork for profit. She had done it as a high-stakes digital performance. The theft was a professional death sentence for Lena Petrov. Without the celestial eye, her legacy of originality crumbled. The value of her other works plummeted. The theft wasn't just a loss of property, it was a public execution of her stolen reputation. The crime brought the long-forgotten story of Anya's mother back into the light. Where is Anya now? She is a true ghost. She sold an authenticated, unencrypted photo of the celestial eye to an anonymous crypto wallet for $20 million, a fraction of its value, but enough to disappear forever. She moved to a country with no extradition treaty and a high degree of privacy. She lives quietly, not lavishly, constantly rebuilding her digital perimeter. The celestial eye is now a private monument, safely locked in a hidden vault. Anya has achieved her goal, the removal of a stolen concept from public display. It rests on a simple pedestal, its diamonds reflecting light only for her. This is her art, a final act of engineering, design, and justice. The theft remains an open case, a source of endless speculation. It redefined art crime, proving that the greatest offense is only as strong as its weakest code. Anya's story is the ultimate cautionary tale for the digital age. A single brilliant individual can collapse a multi-million-dollar security system and vanish without a trace. Anya proved that true justice sometimes requires hacking reality itself. The celestial eye is the trophy of a silent war, a triumph of code over greed. It may be lost to the world, but it has been well reclaimed for its rightful legacy, marking the end of the most audacious, technically brilliant art heist in history. If you want more content like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. See you later on the next true crime story.